Welcome, everyone, to the IB Me UBU show. I'm your host, Antoine Valentine, and joining me today, I'm very excited to introduce a very special guest, a new friend that I met recently while at Waves Weekend at Pepperdine, none other than Gillian Ruan, who is the founder and CEO of Chief Sherpa of Chief Sherpa Consulting Agency, which partners with organizations who want to unlock creativity, inspire innovation, and achieve results. So, welcome,
Yep.
Gillian.
Thank you.
Awesome. So, I'm super excited to chat with you today. As I mentioned, I know we met. I think it's already been maybe 2, 3 months
Yeah,
down at
when was
Waves
that?
Weekend.
That was in the fall. Yeah. October,
Yeah,
maybe?
yeah,
Yeah.
something like that. And I was really thrilled to hear about this new venture that you launched recently, this consultant agency. And I wanted to learn more about what you're doing and what inspired you to do it. And of course, one of the things that we have in common is Pepperdine. I completed my MSML back in 2023, and you just started your journey. So I
Yeah.
was really interested in hearing how that experience has been for you so far, and just what your leadership journey has been throughout the course of your, career and personal development. Is there anything about you that I left out that you think is important for people to know as far as like who is Gillian Ron?
Well, um, I did um have a long career in the corporate side of in the corporate world. Just this year, I ended a 17-year run at Mattel Inc., the wonderful toy maker. And that is, we'll get into that, I'm sure, in a little bit, but that kind of like changed my trajectory a little bit and led me to where I am now. So, and
Hmm.
I'm also, on a personal side, an immigrant. I moved here when I was only 15. Um, and I am originally from Singapore. I'm of Chinese descent, but from Southeast Asia. And I am a mom of a 15-year-old daughter, and I have a husband and two stepkids as well. So, yeah, that's me.
That's great. So I didn't know those things about you. Um, you said you immigrated when you were 15. I imagine maybe that was challenging. Did you speak English when you came here at 15 already, or did you have to learn
I
it?
did. So Singapore is when I was growing up there, nobody really knew where that was or what that was. It's a very, very small country in Southeast Asia that was a British colony. So in the 50s, when my parents grew up, it all had converted to British schooling, and so English became actually the predominant language. And so when my generation was born, we all grew up speaking English. Even though it doesn't sound like this, I sound like I'm born and raised in California. But as soon as my mom walks in the door, I switch. I code switch immediately to the accent. I'm still speaking English, but it sounds
Mhm.
different.
Mhm.
So I grew up speaking English as my first language and Mandarin as my second language. It was like a classroom language. We learned it in
Oh.
school. Yeah.
So what about culturally? Was it a bit of a shock for you coming to California at the age of
It was
15?
it was in some ways, but not in the ways you would think. So, at the age of 12, I actually moved to Taiwan, which going from Singapore, which was actually a majority of the people in Singapore are Chinese, but it's a very diverse Asian community. So a lot of different ethnicities. But moving to Taiwan, it was going towards 100% Chinese ethnicity, and on the street you have to speak Mandarin. But my family was immersed in this little expat community because while we looked the same as the Taiwanese people, we didn't speak Mandarin as well, and we were not able to go. Me and my sister, when I say we were not able to go to the local schools because we weren't citizens. So we went to the international schools. And so in that little pocket in Taiwan, my sister and I both learned more Western culture and got sort of started to get immersed in Western ways and culture. We connected with families from across America and Europe and Canada as well. We had our first Midwestern meal in Taiwan because we were close with a family from Minnesota, so we had pierogies for the first time in Taiwan. So when I moved to Los Angeles at the age of 15 and went into high school, the culture shock was not from an Eastern culture to a Western culture. It was more from a small community because we created this small expat community. I went into a public school of, almost 3,000 kids. So that was the culture shock for me is now switching from being in a very tight-knit community to like one of thousands
I
in the
see.
school system. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And I know that eventually you continued on and you got a bachelor's degree in graphic design.
I
Is that
did.
correct? What made you choose graphic design?
I always had a eye for design and sort of like a design sensibility, even though I didn't have what they call a hand. I'm not I can't, I don't draw well. I'm not an illustrator. I'm not an artist. But in high school, I was the editor-in-chief of the yearbook and had done yearbook for a couple years. So I enjoyed like the designing, like the layouts and stuff. And so that led me to graphic design.
And when did you realize that leadership was your calling?
That's a very interesting question. I don't think I actually realized it until a few years ago. And I wouldn't even say I realized it as a calling. It just started to happen very slowly and naturally. So now this gets into the role that I had at Mattel. So, the last 5 years of my career there, I had a role called innovation programs where I was helping, I was, I helped the teams there, whether they were the design teams or cross-functional product marketing teams. I created workshops for them. I created environments where they could come, they could set aside their day-to-day, come for 2 hours, 2 days, 5 days, whatever the need was that they came to me with. I would design and facilitate a workshop for them. And it was really through that that I found my calling of leading people in a way that was like collaborative and creative. And, these are highly trained professional people in the world of product development and idea generation. And talk about artists, some of the most amazing artists at Mattel. Um, so I wasn't bringing anything to the table that, they couldn't come up with themselves, but really just having someone to set the tone for everyone and so that they didn't have to worry about it. They could run their day jobs and then I would create the environment and the agenda and the framework and the path and the process to get them from here's the problem we're trying to solve to oh aha, like that aha moment really then leads to leadership because as a leader you would kind of that's like when you're at your best as a leader is when you're helping others connect the dots to an aha moment, whatever that
Mhm,
aha moment
mhm.
is, whether it's solving a problem or externally or internally, right? So I made that connection not too long ago. Yeah.
And how did you acquire the skills to facilitate these sessions? Was it natural for you?
It was a little bit natural. It was circumstantial. So um the role that I ended up having was created from scratch and it was a role that had never existed before. And so when I went into the role, I had to self-train. So I went to conferences, I took online courses, um, like from IDOU, and I got certified in design thinking so that I could use that as a foundation. And then on top of that, I had the really good fortune of working very closely with IDEO, the design agency. They had a arm, uh, part of IDEO that did toy invention. And because Mattel is a toy maker, IDEO and Mattel, IDEO's toy lab and Mattel worked together a lot. And so I got to know one of the partners there very closely.
Mhm.
Um, and I learned a lot from him and from that team of how to run a workshop using creative methods, using design thinking to get
Mhm.
from a problem to the right solution.
And would you say you were able to sort of hit the ground running, or um, were there certain experiences that maybe helped maybe shape your style and refine it into what it is now?
Oh, definitely it's been shaped over time. Of course, in the beginning, when I was learning, it was all, when you learn from a course or you go get certified, you learn the generic format, right? And then you have to apply it to your situation. So in the product development toy world, I had to adapt certain things, one being that the end user or the consumer is a child. So there's certain things you have to adjust for that. You can't necessarily walk up to a child with a very rough prototype and ask them to give you succinct and intelligible feedback.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of different ways you have to run that part of the process of testing and learning. And we, fortunately, at Mattel have experts in child research and how to run child focus groups. So they were a wonderful resource to partner with. So yeah, but there's a lot of also adaptation to, of course, being there so long, product, like physical
Hmm.
product versus services, right? And then also being a very like turning over and needing new ideas so often in the CPG world. That's something that I had to like kind of keep in mind too as I
Hmm.
built the program.
Yeah, I see. So this has been an exciting year for you, in two regards, I guess. So one, you started your master's program, master's in management and leadership at Pepperdine, and then also you started your consulting agency. Um, is that coincidental, or did you just make a conscious decision that you were going to take on two very substantial endeavors at the same time?
Oh boy, is it coincidental? I would say no. Um, I would say the so I will share that I did not leave Mattel by choice, right? It was this year has been a tough year for a lot of large companies, or companies large and small. The toy industry is very vulnerable to the situations in the economy. The tariffs were really rough on the toy world because so much of our manufacturing is done overseas. So I was part of a large reduction in force event. Over 100 people were affected. So that was the catalyst for everything else that came into place this year, right? But I will say that about 2 years prior, I had started to think about a master's degree. What would I get? I don't know. Oh, I don't have time to think about it. I'm busy working, being a mom. Same thing with this business. It was a thought in my mind because I loved what I did so much at Mattel. I was like, of course, I want to stay here and do this. But every so often, I would think, oh, what if I could do this on a broader scale, not size, but beyond this industry and help other people? And I think the catalyst for me there was I started to get involved with nonprofits through Mattel. And I was like, what I do could really help in the nonprofit world. So those things were swimming around in my brain. And then lo and behold, I haven't I have to leave Mattel. And then I started thinking, you know what? Now's a good time as any. So I started the MSML program after researching several different programs that combined what I was looking for was a combination of innovation, um, creativity, and leadership. So I found a couple different programs, but the reason I chose the one at Pepperdine was um, mainly for the nonprofit connection at the end, that cornerstone that we are going to do. I'm very excited about that. I know you've gone through it. I haven't gotten there
Mhm.
yet.
Mhm.
And also the interactive nature. A lot of online programs, as our MSML is, can be a lot more asynchronous, and I don't learn well that way. So I was very drawn to the interactive, the group project nature. You know, group projects have their pros and cons, but as an
Mhm.
extrovert, I enjoy them and I learn better that way when I can connect with others. So that was what led me to that. And then when I started in September, I was already thinking, okay, now's the time to do the business. And I already had the name. I had the name like a year ago, Creative Sherpa. And so I was just like, let me just go for it. And the kismet part of MSML together with Creative Sherpa is I'm learning so much in the program at Pepperdine that is really applicable to what I do in this business of, helping people solve problems innovatively, helping them align strategically, and helping them develop leadership skills. So it's perfect. Not a
Yeah.
coincidence.
Yeah, I always say coincidences are God's way of letting you know that you're on the right path.
I
Um,
love that.
yeah. So tell me about Creative Sherpa and what is a Chief Sherpa, as you've named yourself,
I've
founder and
named
Chief
myself,
Sherpa.
yes. So when I was thinking about what I wanted to name it, I thought about how I, as a creative facilitator, am really a guide, right? I don't give you the answers. I'm not there to answer the questions for you. Um, but I want to take you on a journey. You bring me in so that I can get you to the mountaintop, if you will, right? But using creative methods, building your creativity skill. So that's how I came up with Creative Sherpa. So Chief Sherpa just seemed to fit.
I love it. Uh, and I know I've heard you say several times creativity and innovation. Talk to me about those two aspects of what you offer your clients and if that's your specialty, maybe or not.
Mhm.
Maybe just explain a bit more what that means to you.
Yeah. So I have always found that, and the MSML course that I just took, one in particular, creativity and innovation for leadership, all ties into this. So, but getting to innovation is there are many ways to it, right? But the way that I think is most people don't realize that they can get there. They have the innate creative thinking skills, they just need someone to guide them, to prompt them in the right way and structure things so they can focus, right? You put 5 people, 10 people in a room to brainstorm, and if all you do is say, here's what we're trying to solve, here's a bunch of post-its and markers, solve it, come up with the new idea. It's really like too daunting and you don't have the right structure. So, what I love to do is, okay, here's the challenge. We're going to solve for this or we're going to get to this. But along the way, it's all these little stops, right? Like when you go on a road trip, if you want to make it interesting before you get there, you stop at the cool this or the fun place to eat there, right? And you have fun along the way. Fun is necessary when you're trying to think of new things and explore different avenues of getting to that spot, right? So I try to bring creativity, creative methodologies. I use Lego Serious Play, as some of your other guests have alluded to. So it's a methodology that uses Lego to, one, make abstract thought more concrete and therefore more discussable, if you will.
Yeah.
But it also unlocks things when you work with your hands. Anytime you do something with your hands, that's why journaling with a pen and paper
Mm.
actually does unlock something, I think, that typing does not. It's arguable. But anyway, Lego is great for that. I also use just pen and paper drawing. I sometimes break out popsicle sticks and hot glue guns and Play-Doh. So there's a lot of creative methods and prompts and activities to get you to shift your perspective and approach something a little differently. Yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting point about approaching something differently. Uh, we know that change can sometimes be scary and difficult. When you're doing your workshops, I'm sure you've encountered maybe a person or persons that are not really buying in and not engaging because they're hesitant to maybe change. How have you dealt with that as a facilitator to help people get to a place where they're more open to trying something different and unlocking that creativity and innovation?
I never force it, and typically the environment that I set up, I always start with stuff that's really, e for lack of a better word, easy, like engaging on a low effort level. I don't ask someone who has zero drawing talent to come in and start drawing right away. I get people just connecting on a very human level first to start feeling comfortable. Usually that will build on itself, and then when they get to something where they don't feel comfortable, I always say you don't have to do it, but participate in the sharing and feedback because if you don't have an idea, you can still contribute to someone else's idea. Because a lot of what I do is about not just coming up with ideas, but then building on other ideas, the ideas of others. So I say, if you don't want to participate in the contribution part, you don't feel comfortable ideating, I would ask that you contribute by iterating. So kind
Mhm.
of like offer that up.
Mhm. And are you working with groups or individuals from like a coaching perspective or both?
I am not in coaching at the moment. That is not in the short-term plan, but I am in a lot of networks with coaches. So I feel like if I ever were to need to tap into some um, in the near future, I have a large network to call on. Yeah. But yeah,
So
my work
how,
is typically with teams. Yeah.
gotcha. And how are you finding, again, launching this business this year and getting it up and running? Um, Again, a daunting task in and of itself. I'm sure while doing a course work for MSML makes it challenging as well. What's it been like, sort of like marketing your business, creating awareness, and starting to build up a client base?
It's daunting. It's daunting, as you say. It is a little bit, there's a lot of self-doubt. I will be honest. Um, I look at people in doing what I do and I'm like, well, is there space for me? They're already doing it and they're doing it so well, right? So there's always self-doubt, which is why I think the support around me has been really great. And you just have to get out there and start doing something. I've been trying to listen to a lot of podcasts and listen to those who have gone before and now sharing their wisdom. I just have just one step at a time. I know you had Van on your podcast, and she wrote a book, called "What If Pigs Can Fly." And I've read her book. She's a dear friend of mine, and I always remember Van saying, "What's the next small step?" So I don't have to go, I don't have to think too far ahead. Just what's the next small step? And if I feel like if I can focus on that, then I don't get so overwhelmed. But one of the things I have done that has been really helpful is Vun is one of them, but I have found recently a ton of female solo entrepreneurs that are trying to get out there and do something on their own. And a lot of them I'm connected with them whether it's at ex Mattel or in these networks through, leadership conferences or whatever. And called up a bunch of them and said, "You guys just want to have like a lunch club? We call it She's the Boss lunch club just for fun. We just met earlier today, and it's just like to exchange, I'm struggling with this. Have you experienced it? Like just to not feel so alone as an entrepreneur, a solo entrepreneur, and then also sharing that side of like being a female. A lot of us are moms as well. So like the juggling of it all, it's been really great to connect with these women on a very casual coffee shop level and just exchange ideas and collaborate even. We've got potentially something coming up collaboration wise. So that's been really great.
That's exciting. Really happy for you. It sounds beautiful. I always love hearing humans getting together in person
Yeah.
with other humans and just enjoying the community aspect of it and being able to grow and together. So I think that's wonderful. You mentioned your family, and I was curious. Um, how have you found striking a balance between your professional career and also being a mom? And the reason I ask is because as a people manager, I've had on my team over the years many women that felt like they had to choose one or the other, their career or being a mom. And it seems like you and some of the other female entrepreneurs I've met recently have able to strike a balance between both. So, can you talk to me a little bit about how that's been for you, and maybe any advice you have for women who feel they have to choose one or the other?
Yeah. So I would say just for me personally, the entrepreneurial life is only just starting for me. So I'm at a stage where my child is self-sufficient, mostly self-sufficient. She's 15. She's about to drive soon. So she'll be even less reliant on me in about 6 months. Um, but I would say I couldn't do this without support. I don't feel like you necessarily have to choose one or the other. And I think everyone is different. I don't think there's like a blanket, answer, everyone's in a different circumstance, right? Do you have an older child? Do you have younger kids? Do you have multiple kids? Do you have a partner in raising your child that's there to really partner? Those are all important things. Do you have a partner or even if it's not partner in like a husband or a life partner, do you have family around? Like, there are some people I know that live in LA and have zero family. So anytime they need help with babysitting or whatever, they have to pay for it, right? So everyone's circumstances is different. And so I think where you can't do it alone. That's the common thread. It is very hard to do it alone. I find that women who appear to do it alone seem at some point they have to sacrifice something, right? I have a friend who is a single, truly a single mom. She has a career and she dedicates everything to her son, but she has chosen what she's going to sacrifice. So you can have it all, but you may not have the picture perfect, well-designed, put together home. You may not have fancy vacations every year. Whatever it is, there's something that you may have to give on. And it's not forever either. Like when my child was younger, I chose to dedicate more time to being there, every night at dinner versus some women are in roles where they have to be gone. So you have to just like decide what you're willing to sacrifice and then make it up on in another area, right?
Yeah.
Um, so it's not easy. And I think that the world is much friendlier now to working moms. And I think that's the other side of it. Um, you need the support in your personal life, whether it's a life partner or family or friends, right? You need a community. It takes a village to raise a child. That's a saying for a reason. But you also need partners in the workplace, right? If you have a leader who is empathetic to you as a parent, not just for women, but for men too these days. If an empathetic towards parenting and the needs of parenting, knowing that this employee is a effective and performs well, but they may just have to leave at 4 instead of 5, right? But they'll get the work done. If you have leaders that support that, then it's going to be much easier if you don't, than if you don't, of course. Yeah.
Gillian, this has been great. I've learned a lot from you and I've enjoyed hearing about your journey. Before we run out of time, is there anything that I haven't asked you about that you're particularly maybe passionate about or would want to share with anyone watching that they could learn from?
Um, I mean, like you, I love connecting with people. The one thing that's been particularly hard going from a corporate job to an solo entrepreneur role is being alone more. So I that's why it's part of the reason why I created that lunch club too, is to get together and be in a social environment. Um, we need social connection to thrive as humans. So I welcome people to reach out to me to connect. Um, I am a huge foodie. I have my own Instagram for food. So if you live in the LA area and you want to go out for a meal with me, I'm all about that.
Okay, I love it. Yes. How should people get a hold of you then if they want to learn more about your business and everything
Yeah.
that you're working on?
You can find me on LinkedIn at Gillian Ruan. And my website is yourcreativesherpa.com.
Love it. Perfect. Jillian, thank you so much for your time. I know you're busy and I appreciate you spending some time with me. And I definitely enjoyed the conversation. I'm sure anybody watching will feel the same. So thank you.
Awesome.
And I
Thank
wish you the
you.
best of luck on your journey.
Thank you so much, Antoine. I really appreciate you having me on here.
It's been great. Thanks.